Jay here from Stretford Paddock, and this is a review of Erik Ten Hag's first 150 days in charge of Manchester United. Joining me are two absolute titans of the Manchester United fan base. Got Mr. Joe Smith.
Hello, you all right?
You all right?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
You play tight end too?
Yeah.
Nice. And also, Mr. Adam McKola. How are we doing, bro?
How you doing?
Are you proud of me getting the intro right?
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
I mean, it only took 10 takes.
So, we're going to be looking at results, transfers, tactics, and my personal favourite, culture change. How Erik Ten Hag... Yes, exactly. What's your favourite Culture Club song?
Chameleon.
Good lad.
Obvious.
Karma Chameleon. Yeah,
Yeah.
mine too.
Same
how
thing.
Erik Ten Hag has affected all those different topics. So, let's start with results.
No, actually, it's Miss You Blind.
Oh, look at him, eh?
Yeah, it's Miss Me Blind.
Mr. Culture Club. No,
I know you miss me.
yeah.
I know you miss me. But
Get involved in the
now-
comments. Let us know yours. Anyway, we'll start with results because recent results have been mint, but they weren't always the case. We had a bit of a ropey start, didn't we, in the Premier League? We'll start with you, Joe. How do you assess Erik Ten Hag has got on? Because you look at it, you go back to the Brighton game, not an awful game, but a pretty bad one. Then you go to Brentford, which was disastrous.
Yeah.
Then you've had this run of beating Liverpool, beating Southampton, beating Leicester, beating Arsenal. In the Europa, you've had a bit of a mixed bag. The loss to Real Sociedad and the win against Sheriff, of course. How do you assess his sort of run of results and the fact that, you know, whilst we have started badly, we are moving in the right direction?
I think it's been good. I'm glad that obviously it's the way round that it is.
Yeah.
If we'd have won the first four and lost the last two, we'd be sat here saying there's problems.
Yeah.
But I think that it almost felt like we fell into a false sense of security with pre-season, winning those games, beating Liverpool, beating Palace, winning the games the way we did. It's almost like, oh, last season's behind us now. We've moved on. We're better than
Very
that.
like Louis van Gaal sort of thing,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
and then we
Felt
started
like
against
that.
Brighton. He was like, oh, that felt a bit like last season. And then Brentford was like the worst of last season all in one game.
Yeah.
And then I think that is almost what it took. I think Liverpool was perfect to come after that, where his strictness, his sort of motivation, the way he is as a manager, it meant that the players had to respond. And they couldn't do what they did under Rangnick, where they just, completely folded. He's here for, 3 years?
Yeah,
minimum? Hopefully obviously,
Longer.
longer. But I think the fact that we're finally seeing this team come out of this malaise that they've been in for 12, 18 months is a massive sign. That's a massively good sign for him with the tactics he's bringing as well. I think obviously, like I said, 6 wins, 3 losses. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good, especially when you consider we beat Liverpool, we beat Arsenal, and things seem to be moving in the right direction. I think the results are good.
Macca, did you feel the worst with those first couple of results? Because we did get on a bit of a hype after pre-season. We'd beaten Liverpool. We'd had a few other good results. Martial, your boy, was playing brilliant. Sancho was scoring. Rashford scoring. It all looked rosy. And then, you have those back-to-back defeats and you start thinking, like Joe was saying, oh, hey up, is this going to be more, Ralph Rangnick 2.0? What were your thoughts in the first couple of games?
I never ever panicked after the first 2 games. I was worried and I was a bit, maybe we need more players than we've actually fought, or, we need to bring in more players. I kind of felt maybe the squad's worse than we think.
Yeah.
But I also feel like a lot of managers have that time when they come to the Premier League where they try and do it one way and they realise that maybe I have to just tinker with the way I do things a little bit. I remember Van Gaal going to Leicester and we got smashed. Like we were winning 3-1. It was all rosy. We lose 5-3 and he's never the same again after that. And I think Ten Hag, particularly that Brentford game, he would have thought, whoa, the Premier League's a different beast. When you play the equals of Brentford, say in Holland or somewhere, you're slapping them up with half a team. You don't have to put everyone out. And I think coming into the Premier League, playing teams like Brighton and Brentford early, he probably considered them mid-table teams. And I know everyone does their research on them, but you look at how well coached they are and how good they are and all those kind of things. It would have been a surprise to him. So I think once he had that initial shock and maybe that initial, because I think, look, we're all thinking it, but no one's really saying it. Every game we've lost there, Harry Maguire's in the team. I think once he realises Harry Maguire needs to be taken out of the team, I think a lot has changed from there as well. So I think being able to make that decision, stick to it, having the players fit to be able to play in those roles has helped him as well. And I think, yeah, man, it was important to have that little shock, I think. Obviously not lose 4-0, but I think all managers kind of get that in the Premier League.
I don't think it was just Maguire for me. Sure, I thought against Brighton and Brentford was poor, really poor. And I remember thinking, I think he was at fault for one of the goals against Brighton, at fault for at least one of them against Brentford, and thinking, well, last year he'd been really good in pre-season. Why is he not getting a chance? Yeah. But I think Ten Hag was in a way, quite clever in giving him an opportunity. You, the usual players, you're the ones that, you're the regulars, you're the big signings, you're the England internationals and all that other, you can have a start. I'm not going to not at least give you a chance to show them what you're made of. He gave, I think Shaw's actually played a game and a half, hasn't he? And that was it.
Yeah.
I know he's had an injury, but Malassia's earned his way back in. So I think there was a reason for it. It kind of made sense to me.
And as well with that, it means that fans, opposition, pundits, where they would want to criticise Ten Hag for making a big change. They can't say, why isn't he giving Maguire a chance at the start of the season? He's the captain. Why leave him with the armband if you're not going to give him a shot?
Yeah.
Well, he did give him a shot.
Yeah.
And then he did give Luke Shaw a shot.
Yeah.
And he did give Fred a shot. And then now we've moved away from those players. Things are looking better. No one can say it could be even better with Maguire. It could be even better with Shaw.
Because that would be the
we've
argument.
seen both.
Yeah.
We've seen this, and if that had worked, then great. But it didn't, and then we've changed it, and it is working. So until it stops working,
I think also
there's no reason to change
one
it.
of the things that I think a lot of people are unhappy with. We've had Eric Bailly come out and mention it, and I think whilst you don't want Bailly to come out and say that publicly, a lot of us felt it privately. Some players weren't getting the opportunities that others were. I think when you're showing your players that, the captain's not starting.
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo's not starting. And I think he's been very good with that, with the diplomatic way he's handled Cristiano Ronaldo, the way he's handled Harry Maguire, where he's come in and he's gone, Harry Maguire's still my captain and he's still going to play. And everyone's like, what the? This is stupid and that. And I remember saying at the time, he's giving him the rope.
Yeah.
He's giving him the rope. And either you look like a genius because now Harry Maguire's back to his best and he's firing, or you've given him a chance, he's blown it. And because the club are never going to just let Harry Maguire go when you spend 80 million, you know what I mean? You have to kind of try and make it work. So I think, his ability to make those key decisions. And I think we forget, going into that Liverpool game, the pressure was on.
Yeah.
We look back now and we think, it's fine, we beat Liverpool. But people talking about De Boer and all
I'm
that.
glad you pointed that out because I remember that. People saying he could lose the Liverpool game and then, you've lost the first three. You're going away in a tough game at Southampton, tough game at Leicester, tough game against Arsenal who were flying at the time. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that you just lose.
I was scared of that, that we'd sack him or something, stupid. Like,
Especially
because
when
he's
he's
the
got
coach that I've actually thought, don't panic with this guy. Do not panic.
And also, I think having players like Martinez, obviously to a lesser degree because he's only just arrived, but Anthony in the squad. I know Malassia isn't from the Ajax team, but he would respect Ten Hag as a coach because of what he did in his home league. Having those players in the squad that maybe after those first two games, there might have been other players going, is this, surely he's all right, but is he? And then you've got Martinez, who is just dying every week to play, who knows how good he is, who loves Ten Hag, presumably. Obviously, he's brought him in for a reason. Anthony as well, who was desperate to join Man United because he wanted to be at the club, but he also wanted to be managed by Ten Hag again. You've got people on side in the dressing room that can get you through spells like that, where the teething problems come in. And we know this squad from last season is more than willing to sort of pretty much down tools like they did at the end of the year. Let's be honest. What was it, 5 away games in a row that they lost last season? And then he's got these men on the inside almost that I think has probably helped him come through there. I think it's crucial, those players that he's brought in. Obviously, we'll move on to transfers in a minute. But even because the other thing as well, some of the players who we thought he was giving a chance to potentially, give him the rope to sort himself out. Maguire didn't work out. Shaw hasn't worked out. But Scott McTominay and Dalot, 2 players that most United fans thought either were squad players or not even that good, are now looking like, first names on the team sheet. So he's also got the best out of some players that a lot of people thought were basically.
I think the lows are special. I think, fair play to Scott McTominay. I think he's put in performances recently. I think there's still shades of that. There's reasons why we brought Casemiro in. For certain things McTominay isn't great at, but he has stepped up. And how much of that is he's got a defense behind him now that's settled? Do you know what I mean? Like, how much was his performance affected by what was going on behind him, and vice versa maybe? So yeah, it's good to have him settled, but I still think Casemiro's plays.
There's a point there, and I get what you mean about he's got a defence behind him, but there's definitely a lot more purpose in what McTominay's doing, a lot more energy as well at times. At times last season, the game was passing him by. Do you know what I mean?
He does do that a lot where
I was thinking,
he hides.
You can't just blame the defence behind you for not getting involved in things you should be doing. This season, especially, you look at, I can name a few games, but, that Liverpool game, and you're like, right, and the Arsenal game as well.
Brilliant.
Like, he's doing exactly what you hoped he could do. And a few of us, myself included, were like, are we ever going to see this kind of performance?
Can we
from
move
Scott
on
McTominay?
to transfers? Because I think there's a key point that needs making amongst this. But, let's get through that.
Excuse me. I'll say when we're moving on to transfers.
Go on.
We're moving on to transfers.
Oh, well done.
Right. So we have spent a bit of money, 216.3 million, I think.
The most the managers ever spent at United in a transfer window.
Rightly so as well. We finished 6th last season for a reason. We've lost the likes of, Nemanja Matic and Paul Pogba and Jesse Lingard and Edison Cavani and Juan Mata and Baye. We need to spend money. So, yes, we spent a lot of money, but rightly so. Sorry?
Tell us.
Exactly.
Tell us, puppies.
So bought in Anthony for 85 million, Casemiro for 63, Lisandro Martinez for 51, Malacia for around 13 million, 14 million mark, Dubravka for a couple of million, and then Ericsson on a free. So bit of a mix.
Signing of the lot, Ericsson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Free.
That's what I wanted to say. That's why I wanted to go through that first, is because I think the biggest single reason that Scott McTominay is playing so much better is because of Christian Eriksen.
Really?
Having a player next to him because when it's him and Fred, when Scott McTominay is receiving the ball, he's thinking, what do I have to do with this ball to make us more likely to score?
Yeah.
He has to bypass Fred. He has to bypass Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and he has to bypass, he has to go basically straight to the winger or try and play it straight to Bruno Fernandes. And he's not capable of doing that consistently. Now, he's got Diogo Dalot's much improved as an outlet all the time. You've got the same in front of you, but now you've got Christian Eriksen next to you. Scott McTominay can think, I get the ball and I give it to Christian Eriksen. And if there's space for me to do more than that, I'll give it a go. But he doesn't have someone next to him that is incapable of playing those passes. So I think it just brings
I also
so
think
much
it's the likes
calmness
of
to the rest of
Malacia
the midfield.
popping up alongside him, the centre backs going forward, which I think is massively important. And one of the things I know we're talking more tactically than transfers in particular, our defense in transitions is so much better. How many times last season or over the last few seasons have you seen us get caught on the halfway line? We got 2 players back. We're just getting pulled apart. And nowadays,
Sorry at the beginning this season, Brentford.
yeah, but you
example.
see that a lot less now because even though Malacia's dilly-dallying on the opponent's 18-yard box at the end, we've got people in certain positions that are able to cover for them when they are out of place. And again, that comes down to the coaching. I think, look, I've always been a heavy critic of McTominay, where I don't think he's been good enough, and I don't necessarily think he's good enough to start. And maybe that's still the case, but also maybe he has suffered in the same way Jadon Sancho or Marcus Rashford have by not having a coach.
Yeah.
By not having someone that's going to help them improve and work on them.
Because
When you look at some of the midfielders that Ten Hag's worked with, the Gravenberches, the Donnies, and all these guys have gone on and built and improved themselves, you know what I mean? And McTominay, whilst I don't particularly rate him highly, when you look at his attributes, what attributes does he have? He's physical, he's strong, he's fairly quick, he'll dive into a tackle, he's brave sometimes. So if you then coach that, he's got coachable attributes is what I'm trying to say, you know what I mean? He's got something that if you work on, you might get something out of him. So, yeah, man, it's good to see Ten Hag doing that, being able to get more out of what he's got and not just make signings.
100%. We've seen it. You mentioned there, Sancho, Rashford look like the players we know they can be, much more so than the ones we saw under Ralph Rangnick, where they looked like both of them had lost any sort of confidence, especially Rashford. And it's good to see him back amongst the goals. And just on that, Bruno Fernandes spoke about transfers. He did an interview with Andrew Crafton in The Athletic, and he said that, he referenced what Ten Hag had said about not just bringing players in for the sake of it. And what you can see with all our transfers, there's a reason we've got them. This doesn't feel like, you remember when Louis van Gaal came in and we just bought loads of players, just thrown a load of players, and you think, why have we got him in? You had
The Schmidfield was good though.
Yeah, it was for a little while. Yeah, for a brief period. But then you had Rooney in midfield and Di Maria up front, and you're like, what is going on? Every signing seems to have been, with a real purpose to it. Right? He's going to start, almost all of them start every game. Even Casemiro, you thought, he's nailed on to start. Eventually expect him to start football matches for Manchester United. It makes a lot of sense.
He'll start against Man City. Casemiro don't start against Man City.
After a 16-day
I don't know why he's been brought here.
Those are the games he's brought in
Casemiro.
for the main competition, which is the Europa League.
Fuck someone up.
Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't,
Casemiro, McTominay sitting.
I don't know. Who are you dropping?
Bruno.
Oh, bro.
No chance.
No.
Casa has to start against City.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll get into that anyway closer to the time, but I won't be surprised if he sticks with the same team that beat Arsenal, to be honest with you. Anyway, let's move on to tactics because, you've mentioned there about getting the best out of players and also the signings as well. But we've also seen him not just sort of change the formation a little bit, but also be willing to adapt when he needs to. What have you made of how he's gone about his tactical approach?
I think it's pretty clear almost immediately, even in pre-season, that it felt more like watching the top modern teams play football.
Yeah.
Like teams like Bayern Munich, not quite the same as City and Liverpool, but a feeling of that style, like Chelsea, where you watch them and you go, oh yeah, these are the sort of patterns we see a lot. So late switches, 3 men at the back post because you're maintaining your width. Balls in behind, cutbacks to the penalty spot. These sort of attacking things that are, obviously the nuances of Ten Hag's systems I'm not particularly aware of as of right now because we're still learning it. But like these things where you go, oh yeah, this is what all the top teams are doing. And United haven't really been doing that since, even Sir Alex didn't always go with the flow in terms of what people were doing in and of, every sort of 5-year cycle of new tactics.
Yeah.
But we've never really seen that as United fans, where, especially since Sir Alex, where you look at the tactics on display and think, this is basically as far forward as football is at the moment.
Yeah.
And we're not there yet. We haven't fully mastered it. We're not a team that is playing to the best of their ability. But you watch it, you go, oh yeah, that's what everyone else is doing. And I love watching that. In fact, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was, I think, a very underrated man manager. I think he got, in terms of allowing players to feel like they can show a bit of flair, allowing players to think for themselves, I think he was superb at that. And I think keeping team harmony is an underrated thing as a coach, and he was brilliant at it. But he was never a tactics first, on the training ground, doing the coaching. Here's what you do every second of the game. And the top coaches these days are like that. You see, Pep, Klopp, all of those top coaches, Tuchel, are the head coach of the team. And finally, we've got someone that is doing that. And I think it's plain to see the difference. Like you said, we don't get caught out in transitions as often. We've got multiple different ways to try and break down our positions that you see repeated time and time again. Like that switch all the time.
Whilst you say that repetition is there, and I agree with you, and I know you're not saying this, but Ten Hag also, when some managers sometimes can get caught up in their philosophy or their way of playing. And it's like, we play like that, and that's the only way we're ever going to play.
Yeah.
I like that he's able to change and bend and flex to who he's playing, the opponents he's playing. And you've seen glimpses. We're not perfect yet, like Joe said. We're still getting there. And I think hopefully these 2 weeks where we've had no games, whilst it's frustrating for us, hopefully it'll benefit us in the long term. But you see patterns of play and they'll come in and out of the game. Then you've got a few of our goals you've looked at, 11, 12 passes through the whole team. Like, how often have you seen that? I remember speaking to Erik Ten Hag, and Erik Ten Hag said, one day, I want to score a goal that goes through all 11 players of the team. Like, we've been close to doing stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, you're beginning to see, right, the fullbacks pushing forward, going central. Malacia is always on the edge of the opposition, 18-yard box, sorry. You've got the centre-backs who are a lot more comfortable in taking the ball out. So we're now playing a much higher line. Although I think we sacrifice that and we play a little bit deeper, maybe because of De Gea.
Yeah.
And I think when we change goalkeeper eventually, we'll play with a much higher line. But we're able to play that now. We've got players that can bring the ball out from the back, which helps again, because you can't play. We couldn't play this football if we wanted to with Maguire. I'm sorry, it's just not happening. Do you know what I mean? But we just couldn't do it.
I get that. But also there, you spoke about him being willing to change his philosophy. You saw it against Liverpool where he wasn't afraid to say to De Gea, just hoof it up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But
That's what I mean. I like that.
If you look at Brentford and Brighton, we kept playing it short.
And
And
it was
that's
like,
when Ericsson gets caught.
No,
You see it as well where managers, I mean, it didn't quite happen under Van Gaal because I know he won the FA Cup, but it almost felt like he was so live by the sword, die by the sword. Do you remember that spell where it was literally, I can just see it now, it was Blind, passed it to Smalling, passed it to Jones, passed it to Valencia, back, like whoever the back four was, like a horseshoe of passing in front of their defence for 60 minutes in a row. Yeah. And that's all we did for weeks.
0-0 half-time.
0-0 half-time. That's all it was for ages.
I think that absolutely ruined Tyler Blackett, by the way.
Yeah.
Because when he used to play and he'd be getting the ball in like left-back spot or whatever, getting pressured, and then having to
that is where it all went wrong.
It did. I don't think he ever
been given an opportunity at Man United by a manager.
But I just think...
You know what I mean? I used to feel sorry for him, bro. It was, man. It was harsh on him.
I was calling him Blackenbauer.
The fact that he can see that right now we can't hold 60% possession against Arsenal, and he's willing to change his tactics in the meantime while we're learning that, that's absolutely massive. Because otherwise it could easily just be basically Brentford every week, where it's like, no, here's what we do and we don't change. I think he needs to adapt.
What have you made of like the front three and what he's done there? Because going forward as well, last season, attack-wise, we were woeful.
Yeah.
Marcus Rashford, I think, had 4 goals or something. Anthony Langer, I know he's struggled for goals this season, but he, 20 games or something without a goal. Yeah. Even Sancho, sort of went on the radar. He wasn't performing. No. This season, Sancho scoring. Anthony scored on his debut. Marcus Rashford scoring.
Is it 3 goals, 2 assists for Marcus already?
That's
basically his last season in 5 games.
Injured again, man.
And he's dropped the top scorer, the Ronaldo.
Yeah.
What have you made of the front three and what they're doing under Erik Ten Hag?
They need, and again, they need a player like Martial.
We saw that.
They need Martial in the 11
for 45 minutes. We saw,
but they need someone like that to hold the ball up, bring others into play. Rashford, when he's had to step in, to be fair to him, has done a lot better. But if you look at the goals that Rashford scored, they've come when a striker's been on the pitch. So against Liverpool, Martial comes in, sets up his goal. Against Arsenal, he scored both those goals when Ronaldo came onto the pitch. So he's scoring his goals when he goes back out wide. We really need that number 9. We really do need a number 9. Ronaldo not playing, I see it. I agree with it. I understand it. And that's why we need a forward, because Martial's been injured. Martial's fit, starts every game, happy days, but he's not been. So we do need to bring in a forward, I think. But I've been happy with the front three. Yeah. Now we've signed Anthony on the right. It means Sancho and Rashford are playing pretty much for the left, which is interesting. How's that going to develop? Who's going to come out on top there? Because if Martial is fit, then it's
can't start
2 or 3 into 1. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, what do? It gives us options to rotate and change around and tinker it. But you're looking at Sancho or Rashford might not be in your strongest front three.
I think it's definitely a
good position for us to be.
You need that, especially when, Marcus is injured now. Martial's played 45 minutes all season. You can't rely on these players to play 50
look at City,
games
they got
a season.
Mahrez on the bench and that. There's nothing wrong.
No, well, they've always done that, haven't they? But I know they've moved on now, but they had Jesus, they had Sterling, they had Mahrez. Do you know what I mean? It was they all didn't start all the time. Do you know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. A big sort of aspects of what Erik Ten Hag's done is this culture change. Yeah. We've gone from a club that, or a team that, to be honest with you, I was falling out of love with. And it just seemed like everyone had down tools. They're all being moody. They're all press leaks and just, not turning up. I don't mean physically not turning. I mean just like, do you know what I mean? Just, losing badly to teams because of a lack of effort. And yet now we see this thing where we see a lot more discipline. We hear that he's a lot more disciplined. What have you made, Joe, I'll start with you, on the culture change we've seen at Manchester United under Erik Ten Hag? Because it's obvious to see it. Yeah. I mean, the Liverpool game, for me, was like watching a completely different team.
We haven't seen the team run and try that hard in a big game since the season before last.
How mad is that?
Like since we haven't
seen a team run in a while.
Yeah, since the season we finished second, 2021 season, I haven't seen Man United try that hard physically in a game. Like you said, that is just mad. But the fact, like little things like people calling him a disciplinarian when really turning up on time for a team meeting, it's hardly like particularly strict, is it? Don't be late for stuff.
Draconian measures.
You know what I mean? Like
turn up on time, and if you don't, you're not playing.
Lad,
people eating at the same time.
I like the fact he stuck to it as well.
Yeah, like you eat lunch at the same time, you turn up for meetings on time, and if you don't, you're not playing, or if you don't, you dropped, or whatever. However it is, I think that's what this team has needed. And by the sound of what Bruno was saying, I think we've got a quote there in a minute, but it sounds like they've basically not had this for a long time.
Well, let me get into that quote then, because you've sort of teed it up. So Bruno Fernandes, in that interview I mentioned earlier, says, first of all, talking about Ten Hag, he has an idea, he has a style. You have to follow his rules. He is strict on that, and I like that. He has brought discipline, which is something I think we missed in the past. Everyone must be on the same page. And then he goes on to say it's what, Pep and Klopp have been doing for years. You need a bit of that.
You do, and I think as well, if people... Sometimes, like, you're looking from the outside and you think, oh, they're going to rebel against that. But there's something that actually, once everyone's working together, once everyone's on the same page, there's something that can be quite exciting about that rigidity. And that, like, fuck, yeah, this is working. Like, we're all putting a bit extra in. We're all sacrificing, turning up when we want. We're sacrificing what we have for dinner, all that stuff. But actually, this is kind of like a team spirit thing. And Jose was, obviously massive at that. I know he wasn't quite as strict on those sorts of things. But getting people going, you know what, fucking hell, this is going somewhere, this. And I think that they look like they're playing with a bit of that mentality now. And and let's focus on, what's going on above them, which I think obviously as fans we have to focus on all the time. But I don't want the players thinking, well, it don't matter because the board's shit anyway. Do you know, like Luke Shaw coming out last season saying about how
I think that's
people
people
above
the
us.
manager, though.
Yeah, I agree.
think the manager's laid down the gauntlet straight away in that we lose. He's like, oh yeah, this is my fault.
Yeah.
Like,
That was the,
in the past we've had managers. Fucking, have you seen the players?
Like Rangnick going, oh yeah, Jose blaming the players. Rangnick going, well, how can we ever win with all these? Like, we need to make changes. We need to get rid of the Glazers. That's for the. Like, I don't want the players thinking that when they're playing.
No,
I
I
want
mean,
them thinking
the whole Luke Shaw thing, you mentioned it there. Like, I agree, the Glazers need to go there,
Yeah, of
parasites. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't close down Mo Salah
That's
when
what I'm
you're playing
saying.
against Liverpool.
And this is the
that
thing
is
now that
not.
feels
I'm
like
not
they
picking him
hold-
up because Joel Glazer's a dickhead.
they hold themselves accountable rather than going, well, the
That's
club's a
not
mess
how
anyway,
it-
so
yeah.
what's the point in us
That's
trying?
not how it works.
No, exactly.
So
That's
you're
what I'm
right.
saying.
It was a nonsense, and also on that whole sort of togetherness and effort, you see it in the defense in particular, hugging and high fiving after tackles. I love
Again, it
all that.
comes down to
Love that.
you earn your spot, and I
Yeah.
think there have been periods where people haven't been earning their cross. They haven't been earning your spot. You think if I'm Diogo Dalot and I'm coming into a team and I'm playing next to some geezer that's not even shouldn't be playing, and I ain't high fiving you, bruv. You shouldn't even be in
Yeah,
the 11.
no.
Do you know what I mean?
That'd look ridiculous last
Wan-Bissaka's
season,
coming in
wouldn't it?
next week because why? I don't know why,
Yeah.
but he's going to be playing next week. So what's the point in me even feeling a part of this, feeling engaged?
Yeah.
But I do think he has made the squad so far. Anyway, it could blow up again.
Of course.
But the squad is almost towing the line, aren't they?
Yeah, and he's led by example, like you mentioned earlier. When he had him in for extra running for the 13.8 kilometres, he did it himself after the Brentford defeat. One thing as well is sort of been impressive is his handling of the media. We've been there in a press conference. He comes across quite well.
Smiles at us.
Yep. The Gary Cotterill thing where he
told
just
him to do
refused.
one.
Yeah, I'm not answering you. I'm not having it with
Because
you.
he obviously chased him down with a
Yeah, and I
microphone
like
thing.
that.
Yeah, me
you
too.
don't get to be all tabloidy and chasing through car parks and then sit in a press conference and ask him a question like you're his mate. Why not?
We can.
Yeah,
You
we can
can't.
because we're his
Yeah.
buddies.
I think that's good.
It's a good approach because it's not the Jose Mourinho school of I hate everyone, the press are all out to kill me, and it's not the David Moyes I don't know what I'm going to say school
Yeah,
of press conference.
Sorry to say again, it's Moyes.
I think
it's
hopefully it's a more long-term and sustainable version of, or a combination of what Jose did and what Ollie did.
Well, you know
He's
what it
nice
is?
where he needs to be, but he's not just, if I can't say this, I can't say that, you all hate me, you don't want me to win, you don't want me to fail,
Yeah.
because that's like a boiling just ball of pain that Jose Mourinho brings to every job with
You
him, and
see
eventually that
management.
explodes.
See, management though as well. It's like there's so many different facets to it, and so many little decisions that make a big impact. And it's like you can maybe call people out, or you can be harsh on people in training if you're not being a prick to them in front of the media. If you're, like not throwing them under the bus. I think you have to get everything right, and I think he's managing to do that. I even love when he come in and he was like, well, what was it? Eras are there to be ended.
Yeah.
It's like,
You know what I mean?
bruv, just
Yeah.
lie to me, tell me something, make me believe.
No, that's what you don't.
Make
What
me
you want to
believe.
hear, because far too often with United managers, we've heard things and you think, what's he on
I
about?
think he does it
What
as
you
well,
want, really, what you want your
Yeah.
manager to say, what you want your manager to say, which is what Ollie was good at doing, is everything's fine here, and if we've lost, it's my fault.
Yeah.
That's what you want him to say publicly. It's behind, like you said, behind closed doors. Go up to every single player that made a mistake and scream it if you have to.
Well, he did that-
But as fans and as media, you give as little away that can fester, that can get a snowball effect on it. Just make sure everything's fine.
I think he did well with the Ronaldo thing when Ronaldo leaves the game early, and he made it not just about Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And he said to Simon Peach, I think it was like, listen, it's not just Ronnie, other players left as well, and it's been dealt with.
Yeah.
And that helps get Ronnie on
Perfect.
side. You think, okay, I'm not throwing him out he's not throwing me out to dry.
I don't like what
Hanging
you've
out to dry,
done,
sorry.
but-
it's and I'm sure behind closed doors.
Also, he could have easily come in and gone, this geezer's not in my squad, yeah?
yeah.
And then you're left with the issue of, oh my God, he's not left, he's still here.
Yeah.
Like, how now do I do it? Like, I think he's dealt with it so well.
Yeah.
I think deep down, personally, he wanted him to go.
Yeah.
Personally,
Ronaldo?
I think Ten Hag wanted Ronaldo to go.
Yeah.
But he was also, I haven't got many strikers. Ronaldo hasn't got many suitors. United's board probably won't sell him. So I need to just play my cards right here, how I handle this. And I thought he
And he
did
has.
excellently well. He is he might not succeed how we want him to succeed and all that. But the first time in a long time, I feel like we've made the right appointment.
If I had to ask you to, I don't know why you're doing these things, forgive me, sort of rank his first or give his rate his first 150 days. as United manager? Let's say out of 10, what would you give it?
7 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think he's done well.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've lost 3 out of 8 games ultimately.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? We have lost 3 out of 8 games.
8.
Yeah, we won 4 in the league, 1 in
Yeah.
Europe, and we lost 2 and 1.
Joe, so 7 out of 10 from Maka. Joe, what are you saying?
I go slightly higher than that because I think what he inherited, you couldn't expect to do much more with it than he has.
Maybe, yeah.
I wish I would probably say 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think.
Just because I think him personally, there are certain things out of his control that haven't gone perfectly.
Yeah.
But in terms of what he's done, I think he's done very well so far.
Yeah, I'm edging towards 8 myself. I think I understand, like, you've lost 3 games. You can't get a pass for that.
Yeah,
but,
it's not free money,
you know,
is it?
like we said, he gave players a chance. And maybe they needed that. And you needed to sort of show them and the rest of the squad, look, I'm not, I'm going to give you an
I'm
opportunity.
glad we lost one of them. I
know
kind
what
of
you
wish
mean.
we beat Brighton and lost against Brentford because I feel like it's given us that. Whoa,
Because if you draw those games or, you scrape a win, people go, oh, it's okay.
Paper over
Do you know
you're
what I mean?
still unbeaten,
Yeah.
and all
it's
that.
like,
I think
nah.
that, especially that Brentford game,
I think we needed that.
was a slapping.
And from what we gather, we've had James Ducker on here, we've had Dave McDonald, we're talking about it. All of a sudden, United went turbo in the transfer market when it looked like it was going to be about 130 million for the budget. You had those 2 defeats and people
How bad
going,
is that?
I know it's ridiculous.
How reactionary is that?
It's ridiculous, but I am glad we got Anthony and Casemiro out of it, to be honest with you. So even though it's stupid,
So what you're saying is we should lose
all the games,
opening
and
game of
just
every
do
season.
transfers. Lose the first few. Why not? I just love transfers, mate.
If
Games
you
are
want Frankie de Jong next summer,
just
Eric,
lose lots
just
of
lose the
games.
opening game.
Yeah, that's how it's done. This has been a little review. Make sure you get in the comments and let us know
21's coming.
what you think of Erik Ten Hag's first 150 days in charge. Joe, where can people find you?
Joe Smith 93 on Twitter.
On Twitter, on the Bird app. That's what
You
Ronaldo Brown
cannot
says.
find him on the Sloppy Joes.
You can't find me on the
cannot.
Joe's
You
podcast.
can't.
So we will not plug the Sloppy Joes
Yeah,
on
if
here.
you go look for the Sloppy Joe's podcast, you will not find Joe Smith. No?
It's crap.
Find out.
Go check it out. It's crap.
Maka, what are you up to? Where can people find you?
Stretford Paddock, one-man player, one team player.
Yeah, he's like
One,
Skolza. Yeah?
One,
Just
yeah.
one team, man.
I'll
Yeah?
retire for a bit and then come back with a different number.
And you know where to find me?
And I love toast. What?
Make sure you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers. by
Fucking
Christmas.
subscribe!
Yeah, listen to him. You know what to do. Thanks for watching.